Good morning everybody, and today we're going to be checking out Dark Knights of Steel issue 11 by Tom Taylor and Yasmin Putri, the penultimate issue of this fantasy-inspired spin on the DC universe. It is now the eve of war and everything is beginning to be wrapped up and plot lines are reaching their culmination, with the now exposed White Martians preparing for open war by processing a giant kryptonite meteor which we saw earlier on in the series, all to use against the House of El and its leaders. Speaking of the House of El, Prince Cal reunites properly with Bruce this issue, who over the last few issues have been revealed not only to be part Kryptonian, but he's also, in a neat extra twist, Cal's brother. This is one plotline I'm glad Taylor didn't bog down in unnecessary drama. It could have easily developed into the tired and overdone brother versus brother trope, but thanks to this established relationship between these two characters within the universe and just in the characters in general, Batman and Superman, they both just kind of accept it and use it to strengthen their brotherly bond. This storyline also leads Bruce to accept those who are different, which has been a running thing for him throughout this entire series. His hatred for metahumans and beings with powers because of what happened to his parents, them being killed by a person with powers. So for him to grow past this is a pretty big development for a Batman, especially since a Batman can be a very stubborn character and never want to really change his ways all that much. Alfred gets a big piece of helping Bruce get past his prejudices here as well, since he is revealed to obviously have been Martian Manhunter in the last issue, and that means he's been effectively lying to Bruce his entire life. But how he treated Bruce and how he looked after him and taught him everything he knows is that piece that finally helps Bruce realize that he was wrong to judge those who were different. Tom Taylor has always been great at these type of character developments and having characters grow beyond what they are and what they can be, and it's good to see it's still happening here and now, and building off that last issue which was all Martian Manhunter based and sort of revealing his backstory and developing him as a character. Now, amongst all of the tying up of the plots and cool character arcs coming to satisfying closures, Taylor doesn't forget to inject the story with more fun new interpretations of classic pieces from DC lore. In this issue's case, the Phantom Zone projector, which Queen Lara has plans for hidden away and they unearth and use to combat the White Martians, making a Phantom Zone projector which looks fittingly cool thanks to Yasmin Putri really getting to do some fantastic design and sequence work this issue, bathing the pages in this kind of ominous yet warm glow with oranges and cool blues, seeing as the nights are all filled with these torch fires lit across the kingdom to keep the White Martians at bay. So it's just great sort of atmosphere for the entire issue. The new redesigned yet simple looking White Martians were fantastic as well, with very fantasy twists to them, especially Protex, who has these sort of gold accents with a sort of crown headpiece that reminds me a lot of villainous characters from series like Dragon Age, Diablo, Baldur's Gate, Dungeons and Dragons sort of stuff. Probably the most surprising twist or sort of change of DC lore stuff was with General Waller, who of course is revealed to be a bad guy because of course it's Amanda Waller, she's bad in every universe, and she gets an interesting new type of Suicide Squad thanks to being in league with the Martians. Now, it's not bombs in the heads of these aliens this time around, it's a spell of protection she got from a devil that explodes anyone who triggers it, and it seems to be triggered by touch. So I like that fun spin on the Suicide Squad, and she is effectively using these Martians as her Suicide Squad, since if they don't do what she says, she's just gonna blow them up with fire. I'm looking forward to Taylor getting to play around with that a little bit more in the final issue and see what exactly happens with that character. These are the sorts of things I thoroughly enjoy about Tom Taylor's work, just the interesting lore and world building he sprinkles into his stories, making them feel like a small part of a larger world I wouldn't mind seeing explored more. Maybe move away from these characters, explore a little bit more about maybe the magical aspects or speedsters or Atlanteans, things that have all been hinted at in this series but never really fully touched upon. There's just so much potential here, and he can probably do the exact same thing he did with Deceased and sort of branch off into all these different types of stories. Now, while there's a lot of love for this issue I've been talking about for the last 4.5 minutes, I'm still a little worried that the end might feel a little rushed or overly complicated thanks to Waller now being revealed as a traitor and teaming up with the bad guys, and then the myriad of characters who are sort of absent from this issue like Diana, Zala, and the Jeffersons, who while did appear albeit only like one panel. Their storylines with stuff like Jacob being revived by Constantine, and Diana and Zala's relationship, and them sort of going through Hippolyta's death, which was briefly touched upon last issue. But there's just stuff that needs to be said about those arcs, and stuff that's still unresolved about those arcs. So I'm hoping we get to see some more of that in the final issue, but it might even have been a bit too late then, since then it'll just overcomplicate things and kind of make things feel rushed. Hell, even last issue we got Beast Boy and the Titans, who have been alluded to since they were on the Kent farm, haven't even really appeared since that initial issue where Bruce ended up on the Kent farm. Like, they just kind of been absent, and I would have thought that they would have been a big part of this, being all the type of characters each sort of represent a sort of fantasy class. You know, you've got Raven and Beast Boy and Cyborg and all these characters who represent different classes in fantasy games like Dungeons and Dragons, so I thought they would have been a bigger part of this series, and I just kind of wanted to see a bit more of them as well. Dark Knights of Steel really fired on all cylinders this issue, wrapping up a lot of the plot lines and providing some really cool last minute twists, fantastic character growth, and more neat takes on classic DC lore. I did hope we got to spend some more time with certain characters who felt kind of absent from this issue, but I'm willing to see what Taylor has in store for us in this last issue coming up next month. I'm going to give this issue an 8.5 out of 10, so check it out, and if you haven't looked into the previous issues, check out the video description for a full playlist of my reviews and full stories for issues 1 to 10 along with the annual. Thank you for joining me, and remember to like, subscribe, and comment.